Hello, I'm not muted anymore. We just recorded an entire tangerine about Next Fest for 50 minutes about movement games, and I was muted the entire time because I mute myself in the intro so you don't hear me counting Tony down for timestamps.
Yeah,
So, hopefully,
it's an
this is going
ordeal.
to be the most concise retelling of the events that happened in that tangerine,
C-
but skipping out
Let's
all of the
consider it a
fat.
speed run. We did the
Yes. This is
exploratory
the
level or
this is the mo-
mode. Now we're doing it
this is the
speed.
this is the movement version of the movement tangerine.
Yes,
So
exactly,
Steam
exactly.
Next Fest, these are all the movement games, and we're starting off with Helskate, which is a roguelike skateboarding game. And my experience with skateboarding games is I don't have a great experience with them. I haven't really played Tony Hawk or Skate or anything like that. I've only really played demos of like Skatebird and that weird game
Yeah,
where you're shooting and skating. And I always found that when I was playing that, I was like, man, doing the shooting takes away from the skating, and doing the skating takes away from the shooting, and it never feels as good as doing both.
yeah.
Um,
My understanding as well is that these games were considered mediocre compared to some of the greats like Tony Hawk and
the way
Skate and
this
things.
game
So
works is you basically have these little combat arenas where you have to do like Tony Hawk style objectives where you have to collect the word skate, or so it's Hell Skate in that one with an 8.
or
And
yeah,
then
or go and destroy or grind on everything that has like destroyable things or something.
yeah, and the twist on this is because it's a roguelite. At the start of every run, you collect resources as well, which I guess you use to upgrade your gear, but never stop the player to tell them
No,
it's a movement game. Never slow down the game to be like, you pick something
yeah.
up, stop playing the game. And it's
I,
like, do not stop me.
Especially in a movement game, but I'd argue never pause the game.
Yeah.
Any reason.
But yeah, the mechanic is like but get these pieces of gear which show themselves as like your trousers or your sneakers or whatever, and they give you different abilities. My ability this one is I have a fucking jetpack in my skateboard, so that it does kind of go crazy. That twist on the classic skateboarding mechanics. And essentially, you're just going from arena to arena. You have like a main goal, which I think is usually just kill enough enemies, and then you have these side goals, which let you unlock bonus resources to upgrade your run, or I don't know if they upgrade your. They're like the resources, and they help you upgrade your character permanently outside of the run. Like I never got that wasn't really in the demo, at least from what I could tell. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. I so it in terms of like from watching it, like I've not played the new Tony Hawk remastered stuff, but like
yeah.
watching it, like this seems like not quite as good as that, but I still think that consider that quite high praise considering I think that's a
I
very
played this
good
with a controller,
skating
and then I
game.
did eventually play it with a mouse and keyboard, and I found the using mouse to control the camera was a lot snappier and easier for me because I'm much more used to that,
To
and it's a lot easier to
get the
turn the
landing.
camera with a
Yeah.
mouse than it is like a controller. Also, I found a bug. But yeah, I'm not really a big skate guy. Like I never grew up with skate stuff, and I never really played the skate games, and I generally enjoyed this game. Like I thought it was pretty good, and it's actually out now on early access as well. And people are saying that it is like a good blend between like action roguelike mechanics and Tony Hawk sort of
Yeah.
stuff. And it is an early access, so we're gonna have to wait and see like how it
More stuff to be
10 years
added.
over that time. But I thought it was
Yeah. Because the base is
pretty.
already good.
I thought it was pretty decent from what I played so far.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm like super into the format. Like I don't know if I like the action roller. Like for me, watching my like friend play Tony Hawk, you're always on a time limit there, and I really miss
Yeah,
the old
yeah.
school games of like old school, open world racing games like Driver San Francisco or Burnout Paradise City, where it felt like you were exploring this big world with a purpose. It wasn't like Forza Horizon, where it was like collect 100 different things to get a sticker in a microtransaction pack sort of thing. It was like,
And do some races for no reason.
like in Bully, or like GTA, you like the bridge is out, you can't go to this part of the map, and then eventually you unlock the area, and it's like, oh, now after
Yeah.
I did this mission, I can finally go to this area. Or in Bully, it's like, oh, it's winter time. The map is now covered in snow. I thought that was like a really cool mechanic, and I'd love to see more games like that. And
Mechanical interaction with the map.
because you can farm these bonus objectives, and I think you can just keep going forever on the first level. But past this point, if you stay on the level, it just keeps spawning enemies. So you're sort of like trading off that risk-reward system. But I kind of yearn for more of like, at least as someone who doesn't really play a lot of these games and probably isn't very good at them, I yearn for more of like a area where I can just practice skateboarding around. And I kind of wish there was more like Driver San Francisco, Burnout Paradise City style games like this to test stuff out, that because this feels like it controls quite well. But yeah, let's move on to
a more open map is what you want.
Nevergrey, from the developers of Palworld. This is actually from the developers of Palworld. It's published by Pocket Pair. It was listed as developed by Pocket Pair before, but they've since changed their name to Frontside 180, and I was like, what happened? Apparently, it is still a subsidiary of Pocket Pair, but they want to make it clear that is it a separate development team from the Pocket Pair team, because I think they're assuming that people might look at that and go, oh, why are you developing stuff for this game and not working on Palworld? Because Palworld's fucking massive. It's sold like 19 million copies or some shit at this point, right? It's sold so many copies.
A lot. It's a lot of copies, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, oh, this one person not working this game is the reason why you're holding up content. So yeah, I guess it makes sense.
The core mechanic of this game is it is partly like a Metroidvania Souls-like game. And then you basically do runs, and when you die, you lose your progress on the level you're at. But you collect money and resources, which you take back to this town, and you can buy like plots of land to build like permanent upgrades. So again, it has that like survival crafting mechanic, which I wasn't expecting after I saw the trailer for Pokemon with Guns. But yeah, it seems like they've got this like inbuilt grinding mechanic in there, where it's like immediately after I was playing it, I was like, oh, you know, the movement's pretty good, it's pretty fun. But I could see like, yeah, you could like infinitely just grind this for like resources and money and stuff, and I could see myself becoming bored of that eventually. But I think there's going to have to be one where we're going to have to wait to see the full thing. I think the most interesting mechanic about this game was the hat system. So I'll just skip ahead. You can I don't know if you are the hat or the girl, but when you plays the hat, the girl turns into like goo when you resummon her. I guess that's through magic, but you can actually possess other creatures, and the only one I could find to possess in the demo was this dog creature. See if I can skip to that. I think maybe it was earlier. So here I am. So I think this was the best mechanic of the actual, like the combat's pretty decent, like in terms of it plays fine. But I think the most interesting thing about it was the fact that you could possess different creatures and use their abilities, and I wish there was more of that. I think that's probably the most defining, interesting thing about this game, Nevergrave. But unfortunately, from the demo, I actually got to a point where there was a door, and what are you going to say about this mechanic?
I was just saying, like, it'd be cool to see a mechanic where like you have to use this to like get to other areas instead of it being as roguelike.
Because I tried to possess other creatures, but it only seemed like you could possess like I only found that one character, because usually when you kill an enemy, they just disappear, so you can't like hop on their body. And I guess that's the game's way of telegraphing what you can and cannot possess. But I wish there was more possession stuff. I think it's one of the more interesting mechanics about the game. But I was getting really annoyed because there was 2 levels, and I kept getting to the second level of the map, and then every time I got there, there was this impenetrable wall that I couldn't get past, and it was really pissing me off because I tried everything to get past it. Like I tried using magic on it, I tried exploring the entire area from where I could, and ultimately that's where the demo sort of ended for me, because I couldn't get past this wall and I had no idea how I was supposed to get past it. Like I tried everything. Like I spent like 20 minutes, half an hour trying to get past. I even licked the door, so which licking things is important in demos, which we'll find out on the strategy section of Next Fest. But yeah, there's a little tease for you. But let's talk about Pepper Grinder. Pepper Grinder is the next game published by Devolver Digital, and I always check out Devolver Digital games because they're always very interesting and usually quite good. Because they always like to publish games that have visions, and Pepper Grinder is like that mechanic in Ori where you're like drilling through the sand. And I thought the mechanic was interesting, but it was kind of clunky. But so I was like, I don't know about this game, but this game like completely turns it up to 11 and makes it such a great mechanic to use that it's actually really fun.
So the whole game is based around this. It's not like
the whole game is based around the drilling. So use the drill to dash through the air. Use it to collect materials. Like, there's a really cool collectible system in the game where you are collecting these coins to upgrade your character's health, because you have a limited amount of health, and if you lose your health, you go back to your previous checkpoint. I don't think there's any innate checkpoint thing where it's like, this is a checkpoint, you will get a checkpoint here, but you have like this invisible progress to the level to try and help you through it. But it's not like overly hand-holdy in a way where there is still challenge to the game, I would say. And it's almost like, did you ever play that Flash game where you play as a dolphin who jumps up out of the water, or like Echo the Dolphin, where you go down deep into the water and then you come out and you actually get higher than you would have starting from a low point because of your momentum? Yeah, violence, speed, momentum.
Is that his catchphrase, was it?
That's Dr. Disrespect's catchphrase, but yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
But yeah,
no, yeah, I don't know that Flash game, but just judging by the sand here, is that you're diving in to then dive back out with more momentum and more velocity to get.
And I think like because immediately I was like, oh, I found playing using the mechanical arm, I was like, oh, I used a controller, and I was like, oh, maybe I would want the precision of a mouse, because you kind of have to aim when you're going like diagonally and stuff like that, right? Like I know a lot of people with like handheld consoles that come out, like gaming handhelds, they test the D-pad on that to see how good it is using a diagonal, because games like Celeste, it's actually really important to do diagonal movement with a D-pad. So if using a diagonal on a D-pad is hard, then that's like a sign of a bad D-pad. But you do need to do like, interesting funky movement when you go like diagonal directions. And I would say I played it on the joystick and it was really good on the joystick. I didn't try it on the D-pad, but it felt really good on controller. So obviously probably, and it's quite low res as well, so in terms of its art style, like bit style, so it's definitely going to be like a Steam Deck game for sure.
It could be really fun on a Steam Deck. I think a lot of the digital stuff could be good on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, I think most of it is, to be fair. But yeah, I played this. It was really fluid and really fun, and it constantly kept me engaged, because it's not just this throughout the entire game. It does get more like complex. There's like water mechanics as well, like Echo the Dolphin, of course. There is like challenge to it. They start putting these thorns around stuff. They start putting bombs around it. So you don't want to like drill into a bomb. Yeah, so there is puzzle elements.
Light puzzle.
I'll see if I can skip to one.
I guess I prefer to like momentum puzzle.
Here's the shop system where you can buy stickers as collectibles, but you can also buy extra health bars, which I did. I've got a super big health bar, as you can see here, but you're trying to dodge bombs. And then here's the puzzle mechanic where it's like you flip the thing and then it flips another thing. And then, it's puzzles built to confuse, the people with constructed alternatively brains like myself, but never too confusing that I was like, I'm stuck. It's like I think it's a good balance between like a scintillating puzzle where I'm like, how do I solve this? But never too much like, oh, I'm stuck here, I don't know what I'm doing. I think they found a good blend between, puzzling and fast-paced movement. And I think this game feels really good to play.
And the animations are just really satisfying to watch. Your main character spin up the drill.
Yeah, and there's this point where you go on elevators and you spin the elevator by spinning your drill on them, and I think everything in this game feels like very like handcrafted and fun. Yeah, in that sense, I think they did a really good job with this game, and I think I'd highly recommend it to everybody. Give it a go; it feels really good to play. I think the demo is still up at this moment, so give it a go. It's coming out sometime this year. On to our next game. Tony, it's Rolling Rascal, as seen on Kickstarter.
Oh, it's Kickstarter one.
Yeah, so it's actually published by Curiomatic, who list themselves about as bringing to life. I think they use Kickstarter to fund a lot of their games, it seems like, from what I could see. Like, they find backing for games. Apparently, they were co-leads on a YouTube channel called Smashify in 2015. Okay. I never heard of this Smashify YouTube channel.
Nope. But yeah, you say was it the Misk one we're talking about Sonic? You said, how did you know? And this is the Sonic one.
Yeah, so obviously I was talking
inspired by Sonic.
It was inspired by Sonic because there's this thing now where people are like, "Oh, Power World ripped off Pokemon, it ripped off Breath of the Wild, it ripped off all this, survival Evolved," and I'm like, at what point is a game inspired by a game, and at what point is it copying? Like, at what point is a Doom clone an FPS, or stuff like that? And I think this is obviously heavily inspired by Sonic, but whatever the fuck Sonic Team is smoking, it's good that somebody else is taking the reins, and actually allowing games to be played fluidly. Like, it's a big thing with like Japanese developers where they like to cap frame rates at like arbitrary rates. Like, the physics are tied to 60 FPS, or especially with Sonic Team and Sega, where it's like, if you want to play Sonic Frontiers uncapped, it's going to completely break the fucking game. And it's like, well, fuck you. Like, playing like From Software games like Sekiro uncapped at 120 FPS is like game changing. It feels so smooth and so fun, and I'd highly recommend anyone who wants to play that game to do it that way because it feels so great. And yeah, this plays at high frame rates and is a really big like open world that just lets you move through it really fast. Like, they really don't slow you down at all in this game. I think that this game's Rolling Rascal's biggest strength is also its biggest weakness, where I think you can get through the game and the world really quickly. Like, you can fly through the levels and they don't arbitrarily slow you down by adding like linear progression. Like, it's very open zone gameplay. Wasn't that the thing with Sonic Frontiers? It's the first open zone game.
Yeah.
But I think that's also one of its weaknesses, where I did sometimes find myself running around in circles, or I wasn't 100% sure where I was supposed to be going. I think there isn't like a more of a nice middle ground between, hey, I can press a button and then an objective thing shows up with the rough direction of where I'm supposed to be going, sort of thing.
Yeah, from your spot, what direction we're meant to be looking.
Because I watched Trihex, the speedrunner, the face of Tryhard. He was playing this game on stream, and he was basically saying, oh, you can get to a point where you can basically just fly through the top of the level, which I don't think ultimately will be a good thing for the game. Like, because all these interesting like mechanics, like there's those grind rails, and there's the turning into a ball and rolling up like a spin dash, but if you can get to a point where the entire game is just try and get into the air and never touch the ground, that can be fun for a bit, but it's maybe not as expressive as you would like it to be in terms of being able to combo together all these different moves. I think that's really where the fun of this game is going to lie, personally.
Yeah. You don't want to optimize the boring too much, at the very least.
Yeah. And I think, like, if you're interested in this game, like, you can, I think you still back it on Kickstarter. Like, it's interesting with, like, Kickstarter-backed games where you can, like, directly fund the development of the game. Or you can even like possess enemies briefly by jumping on them. Like, you can get them to shoot and punch enemies as well. My only thing I didn't like about possessing enemies was it felt like it slowed the game down a lot. Like, I think that's one of my biggest problems with combat in like Sonic 3D Sonic based games is combat always feels like it slows down the game. And I feel like the pure joy of 3D Sonic games is I always feel like I never want to slow down. I like just running through the level fast is always the enjoyment for me personally.
I feel like I think it may not fix the whole game for the level thing, but I feel like that's one thing that Sonic Frontiers had one mechanic where like drawing circles to deal damage, like you didn't have to slow. Well, you're still moving, but I guess you still have to slow down if you get into like an area. better than jumping on their head. Anyway.
I thought this game was really fun. There was just one. It was just the tutorial level and then this one intro level. I would say maybe like the movement feels really good. It's fluid. It's fast. It's fun. I would say maybe add a little bit more. This game needs some yellow paint. Have you followed the yellow paint discourse on social media or anything like that?
No.
Everyone's been. So the original Resident Evil 4 didn't give you much direction in terms. Well, it gave you probably enough direction, but some people would argue it didn't give you enough direction. But the remake, every time you have to go and smash a crate, it's covered in yellow paint. When you need to go up a ladder, the ladder is covered in yellow paint. Which, honestly, I don't really care personally that much, but some people seem to be really upset by that.
I don't like it, but I don't care too much. But why can't it be an option? Should it not be just a text?
Well, I think if there was an option where you could be like, I'm going to press a button and it's just going to show me the general direction of where I go. Because there was literally a castle section in this demo where I went around in circles several times. I was like, oh, I don't really know where I'm supposed to be going right now. So I personally needed a little bit more direction, and it would be nice if that was an option.
You want the dead space painted on the ground for you?
No, it's just a quick button, so I don't have to slow down. I can just quickly see where I'm going. But if you want to back some Kickstarter, you still can. I think it's an interesting game, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And then we have our final game, Tales of Kenzera ZAU. Do you remember, I think it was Summer Jeff Fest, there was a guy who came on stage, and he was like, oh, my father passed away recently, and I made a game about losing a father and a relationship between a boy and his father, and I thought that was like a really cool concept, like for a story, but also it's this Metroidvania game where it's about this great like shamanistic African mythology, which I think is really cool because it's not something you ever see in gaming. Like when you have games like Raji that has like this Indian mythology background, or the new Prince of Persia Metroidvania game, which shows like it's a Metroidvania, but it's not in space or a castle. It's like in the desert, from like an Arabian, Persian sort of perspective. Yeah,
I think that is really cool. Cultural perspectives and different themes and different ideas from that culture is very important to see.
Yeah,
and it's not just it being very interesting.
One thing I will point out though was immediately when I started this demo, I started stuttering. And again, like with Rogue City, I noticed it started and I went to the forums.
Shader compilation issues.
And it seems like other people experience stuttering and frame drops as well. But I've checked the community hub and the developer has responded to other people and said that will be fixed for the final build. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the final build will not have any stuttering in it, which is, it kind of hampered the demo a little bit, but I was able to look past it knowing that the devs had said that it will be fixed for the final release,
If people can play Elden Ring with stutters,
yeah.
That does have a lot.
Oh, have you seen Japanese developers when it comes to making PC games is always like an odd, the ray tracing option they added to Elden Ring. But Ring, but it basically does almost nothing. It's like a really bad implementation of ray tracing, and people look at it and go, well, it tanks performance and, it doesn't look any better. All ray tracing sucks. And then also, I don't know if you know this, I believe Elden Ring has no upscaling on it. It has no DLSS or FSR.
No.
So you have ray tracing with no upscaling. So it's like the worst case scenario for it.
It's one of the only games that's done that. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, I don't quite understand that one.
But the way the combat worked in this game was you switch between these two shamanistic power suit things. So you had these light attacks, which would be triggered through I think it was worshiping the moon god, and you would basically have ranged attacks, and then you would switch to this sun god powers, which were heavy melee attacks with combos. And the combat was cool because you would switch between the two. So it's I need to take this guy out from range, I'll use the range suit, and then it's this suit is a lot better against this enemy, and you could switch to that. But it was cool to switch between the two, and then you had this upgrade system you could unlock throughout playing the game that let you upgrade the suit power you like the most and give ability upgrades to that.
Yeah.
And like
so it gets kind of complicated, more complicated as time goes on with the abilities then.
And more like Metroidvania, the core mechanic is you progress through the world by gaining new movement abilities. And the way it works in this one is you want a bridge, and the bridge falls down, and then you go down all these waterfalls with spikes through them, and then you gain the ability to freeze water, and then you use that basically to turn the waterfalls into walls that you can wall jump up, and then you can walk up the waterfalls as well. And that is like one of the first movement abilities it shows you in the demo, which is quite cool. I think it looks really cool. I'll see if I got any footage of it.
That statue. It looks just like the sun and moon masks.
Here we go. So this is what it looks like. So you freeze the water and then you use that to climb up, which is pretty cool.
Okay. That's a really cool way to do it. That's not really way to do a solution for that. That's really cool. Yeah.
You can find these echoes in the world which tell you more about the backstory stuff. I was listening to like the general story, and then I was sort of like getting the basic story and then skipping through it, because like when you play a lot of these demos, you need to be like, you can't spend so much time on everything because you have to play so many, right?
Yeah. And if you don't play the game yourself anyway, you don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't really spoil it, but it's that you don't want to do it again, that sort of thing. Nice.
But yeah, it's a really cool game. Yeah, it makes me want to play that Ubisoft Prince of Persia game. It's a Metroidvania because it looks really good, and I think I would love to play it. But it is only available on like Uplay or fucking Epic Games. I'm like, well, no, I don't think so. I have Xbox Game Pass and I have a Steam account. If you put it on one of those, I will play it.
This game's coming out on Steam, so.
Yeah, so again, this is an EA original.
You don't need an EA account. Yeah.
So the way it works is it's sort of like an independent studio, but EA does the publishing side for it. So like It Takes Two or Immortals of Avium or EA originals, or like even more indie stuff like Fee we played as a Spotlight as an EA original.
Yeah, that's probably a better example, yeah.
So that's how you have like an independent studio, but you have like publisher funding for it.
A big,
like in the terms like Moon Studios.
That's how you get medium games.
Who does stuff like Ori and the Forest is an independent studio, but they're owned by Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Tales of Kenzera ZAU, I think it looks really cool. Really excited to play this one, so definitely check that out. Hopefully they fix up the stuttering before release, and then I think it'll be a very good experience. But yeah.
There's some very strong movement games in the.
That's the movement demos of Steam Next Fest. I think there's some really cool ones in there, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.